Actually, before we begin, Delphin, I'll just go over a few housekeeping items to let you know what's kind of going on behind the scenes, kind of level set on just some very high level guidance for this 25-minute presentation. And then I'll turn it over to you. So that way that you and all of your teammates are clear on our roles as judges and your roles as presenters here right now. So first, I want to level set on one very important point. Please, during the presentation, don't mention the name of your university or any relationship with LMU. We're going to conduct this as a blind competition. So as you speak to us, please ensure that it's a blind competition. And we won't identify ourselves or any of our affiliations either.
Sorry,
Jeff
I'm doing that on my, yeah.
But LMU CBA is the host organization, so that you may see a background that represents the host university, but our personal affiliations we won't talk about either. Right. Jeff and I are both senior judges, and in this part of the competition, you as presenters will take on a fictional business identity and assign a fictional business identity to us as the judges. So please make sure everyone knows who you are and who we are before you begin your presentation. You'll then have 25 minutes to describe the legal, financial, and ethical dimensions of the problem and to recommend a solution that passes muster on all three of those counts. During this time, your team is presenting uninterrupted from us. When you're finished, we'll ask you some questions for 10 to 15 minutes around those three areas of legal, financial, ethical dimensions. And then during the Q&A, both you and us as judges, we all stay in character. And then after the Q&A, we get to remove our character hats and we'll provide feedback to you outside of these roles. I know you all have worked hard for this time and done a lot of work to prepare for this moment. So I'd like to encourage all of the teams, you just take a deep breath and just know that you've worked hard right now. We're eager to learn from you and hear your presentation today. So I'll turn it over to you and you can begin the 25-minute section of your presentation.
Thank you. To clarify, you are the board of directors of Corabastos, and we are the consulting team of this board. So in Colombia, about 34% of food production is wasted annually. This amounting is around to 9.7 million tons of food that could otherwise have fed people living in poverty. To truly understand the scope of this waste, consider this perspective. The food wasted in Colombia could feed the entire populations of Panama, Uruguay, and Luxembourg 3 meals a day for an entire year. This is the problem that we want to address for this project. Good afternoon, everyone. We are Terra, and my team members are Valentina, Sarah, Sebastian, that unfortunately he cannot present today because he is taking an exam, and myself, Eduardo.
So before diving into the problem, let me tell you a little bit about Colombia. First, about geography. Geography is a country in South America. It's surrounded by the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean. Now, in terms of demography, Colombia has a population around 51 million people, which 24% of the population is located in the rural areas. Agricultural products that are most produced in Colombia are flowers, coffee, and bananas. Well, Colombia is located in the tropical zone and is the second most biodiverse country in the world. Due to these two factors, we enjoy a wide variety of agricultural products that can be grown year-round as we do not experience seasons. For more context, we have to know that national GDP in 2022 was around $343 billion, and agriculture contributes to 8.9% of the GDP. And now, we're going to focus in particular to the central region of Colombia. Central region is known for its robust agricultural production and industrial development, contributing to over 30% of the national GDP. The main foods produced by farmers in the central region are coffee, panela, bananas, beans, corn, potatoes, and different kinds of vegetables or food.
A significant drawback of having extensive agricultural land with high production is the substantial food waste it generates. Like many developing countries, Colombia experiences most food wastage during agricultural production and not on the consumption side. But the waste problem is global. Over 1.3 billion tons of food are wasted annually worldwide. Over 9 billion tons of food per year in Colombia, and over 1 million tons of food are wasted in Bogota each year, which represent 12% of all food wasted in the country.
To grasp the extent of the waste problem in Colombia, we can examine it through three key perspectives. Firstly, 24% of the country's greenhouse gas emissions stem from the production, transportation, and waste of food. Secondly, 34% of the food produced in Colombia is lost or wasted at various stages of the supply chain. Lastly, Colombia wastes 9.7 million tons of food annually, an amount sufficient to feed 8 million people for a year. Considering these factors, it's evident that there is a pressing need for solutions to address these issues in our country. So the problem that we identified is how can the Colombian central region promote sustainability and efficiency in the supply chain of organic food from farmers to distribution in Bogota to reduce waste.
So now we want to look at the waste problem in Colombia from an ethical standpoint. In all the markets, there are losers and winners. In this case, we face an ethical dilemma regarding the consumption, production, and commercialization of food. The dilemma consists between maximizing benefits and reducing negative externalities. That is a problem between efficiency and justice. If we look at this ethical dilemma from different perspectives or lenses, we conclude in terms from the common good, that is the first one, that waste food that is composed in landfills accelerating climate change and polluting the air. In the second perspective, we have a utilitarian perspective. In this perspective, we know that utility by avoiding food waste. And for another lenses, in this case, right perspective, we have that reducing food waste can help ensure that everyone has access to adequate food. And finally, if we look from the justice lens, reducing inequity in waste is a social justice imperative.
Okay, now I would talk to you about the legal implications of our issue. Currently, in Colombia, there is not a specific regulation for the problem of food waste, but we have two laws that are related to our issue. The first law aims to incentivize food donation to the country food banks and support technological solutions that help prevent and reduce food waste throughout the production, distribution, sale, and waste management chain. The other law penalizes improper waste management that affects public health or the environment. As improper waste management can cause health problems for people and animals, as well as air, soil, and water pollution. No complaints with this law can result in fines of up to $3 million or the total closure of the business.
We conducted an analysis of the financial impact of wasting 34% of the food produced, determining that the annual financial loss amounts to $7.49 billion. Notably, the majority of this waste occurs in the first three stages of the value chain: agricultural production, distribution and retail, post-harvest, and storage. We aim to focus our solutions on production on these three stages because these stages involve Corabastos operations. Within these three stages, over 80% of the waste is generated, equating to more than $6 billion. We want to show that all the aspects of the problem we use disuse are related to sustainability concerns. From the farmer's perspective, producing more than the market demands and wasting what is already produced result in unnecessary expenses and food wastage. This diminishes farmers' disposable income for investment, making agriculture a less appealing option for younger generations in rural areas. On the consumer perspective, production inefficiencies lead to significant fluctuations in food prices. This prompts wholesalers and retailers to increasingly rely on imports, creating a vicious cycle of rising prices. Consequently, this increases unequal access to food and contributes to food insecurity within our nation. In conclusion, in terms of sustainability, the process we just described reduces the ability of present and future Colombian generations to be autonomous in their agricultural production and food supply, preparing high inequality in our country. Our focus on Sustainable Development Goal 12, responsible consumption and production, underscores our dedication to fostering sustainable practices in consumption and production patterns. By promoting responsible consumption, we aim to minimize waste and environmental degradation while supporting inclusive economic growth. Additionally, our strategic approach and proposed solutions have the potential to positively impact other sustainable development goals, such as Goal 2, 11, 13, and 17.
Now, the challenge for the company which want to focus on is facilitating that Corabastos promote in its daily operations sustainability and efficiency in the supply chain of organic food, from farmers to distribution in Corabastos to reduce waste in Colombian central region. Now, what is Corabastos? Corabastos is the largest wholesale food market in Colombia and one of the most important in Latin America. Corabastos is a mixed company. It means it's composed by public sector and private sector. In this case, Corabastos has more than 50 years of operation, and daily they have over 9,000 tons of food, of which more than 7 million Bogota and Central region. So now we have a little bit more about Corabastos. We have photos, but well, next, yes, thank you. This is our photos about Corabastos. Well, but we are going to talk about Corabastos in numbers now. So Corabastos in
Okay, I think the connection is we have problems
Another.
with the connection of Valentina. So Corabastos has 20 billion Colombian pesos in annual sales, which represents 1.3% of Bogota's GDP and generates 7,000 direct and indirect jobs.
If I could interject very
Right.
quickly, Valentina, if you want to turn off your camera and that helps you be able to speak through the presentation, that would be okay with us.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Valdi,
Okay,
we
sorry,
can hear you.
sorry. I don't know
No, don't
why.
worry. Corabastos is currently facing two significant challenges. Firstly, the market operates on the basic principles of supply and demand. However, there are periods when the supply of agricultural products significantly outweighs the demand, resulting in lowest equilibrium prices. It affects farmers, leading to substantial financial losses. Secondly, Corabastos is facing a serious waste management problem always ends up mixed together without any proper separation. This indiscriminate dumping leads to the loss of valuable recyclable materials and compostable waste. Not only this affects the environment, but it also results in missed opportunities for recycling and resource recovery.
And what is our proposal? Address it from a multifaceted perspective attacking three fronts: prevention, regulation, and management. Okay, our first solution focuses on prevention. Imagine a future where Colombian farms are smarter and waste less food. That's the goal. Knowing that a large percentage of food waste comes from overproduction in the fields, our solution uses technology in the fields to facilitate the well-being of our farmers, the protection of the environment, and increases economic efficiency. But how do we do it? Okay, with sensoring the crops that measure things like heat, water, and sun. What do we do with the information collected? Usually, Colombian farmers don't think ahead about financial revenue when they plant their crops. That's why our solution is about creating an agricultural calendar that combines weather analysis with financial forecast of markets. Expert and experienced farmers look information we collect to make predictions that help farmers plant their crops better. By considering a weather change, farmers can figure out the crop that will be more likely to succeed. By analyzing the supply and demand of food markets, we'll gather relevant trends that will help farmers to forecast a price on products better and plan their crops smartly to make the most revenue. How do we communicate this information with farmers? On a website with user-friendly graphs, in a mobile app, and with personalized alerts. With this information, we could make personalized prediction and recommendation based on AI. What about those who don't have internet? There will be a magazine with the same information that will be distributed in the main locations where Corabastos farmers operate.
So now, for the second solution, we have a regulation. We are emulating programs that are already being great. We have two sides. In one side, we have incentives, and the other side, we have sanctions. In the first side, we have first a tax deduction. In Italy, a tax deduction of 10% of the value of donated food increased donations by 39%. And the second one is public recognition for leading companies. In Denmark, the Combating Food Waste program provided public recognition to leading companies, resulting in a 25% reduction in food waste in the retail sector. And now for the other side, we have sanctions. First, fines. In France, large supermarket chains face fines up to 75,000 euros if they don't donate surplus food fit for consumption. And the second one, non-compliance target. The European Union has set a target to reduce food waste by 50% by 2030, and Colombia could set similar target with sanctions for non-compliance. And in this approach, the idea is for Colombia to mirror the good practices other countries have made that actually help them to reduce food waste throughout incentive and sanction.
Finally, the last dimension to the solution is provided through a closed system of biogas and digestate generation, consisting of 5 key steps. The process begins with the separation of organic waste by businesses into special containers. This stage ensures that only organic materials are sent for future processing, optimizing the efficiency of the system. Once the waste is separated, the process continues with the second step. Trucks are responsible for collecting the organic waste and transporting it to the location where the machine that does the process is located. The name of the machine is biodigester. When organic waste is introduced into the machine, it undergoes in a digestion process. That is the third step, the digestion process. This natural process breaks down organic material, producing 2 valuable products, biogas and a solid material called digestate. The fourth step involves a transformation process where biogas is converted into clean energy, while the solid part can be used directly as organic fertilizer. Once both products undergo transformation, the fifth step begins. The energy generated from biogas is used to reduce consumption at Corabastos, contributing to sustainability efforts. Additionally, the nutrient-rich fertilizer is marketed and sold to farmers and gardening companies, providing them with a sustainable and environmentally friendly fertilizer option. Both options represent economic gains for Corabastos. On the one hand, in energy expenditure savings. On the other hand, revenue generated from fertilizer sales. In conclusion, the closed system not only effectively managed organic waste, but also generated valuable resources contributing to environmental sustainability and economic viability. Sustainable economy is the path to the future, where today's waste becomes tomorrow's gold. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Terra Strategies. We learned a lot from this presentation. I'm going to start with a question that is focusing more on the ethical bucket that you presented. Given the significant food waste at Corabastos and its impact on both food security and environmental sustainability, how would you say your strategy that you presented to us, how does it ethically balance the needs and responsibilities of all various stakeholders? I noticed you specifically noted farmers, but how does it ethically balance the needs and responsibilities of farmers, distributors, and even consumers?
There was a moment that the connection interrupts. Please, the last part, could you
Oh,
repeat?
sure. Yeah, happy to repeat. How would you say your strategy ethically balances the needs and responsibilities of all the stakeholders in the mix? Then these could include farmers, distributors, and consumers.
Yeah, all stakeholders related with farmers, market, merchandisers, and the people that consumes the food, all people involved in the process, because like we showed in this supply chain, the waste produces in some stages, whereas farmers is involved in the first stage in agricultural production, but the other people that has interaction with the wastage, it's involved or it's inside in the other stages related with the distribution and retail and post-harvest and storage, that is the merchandisers or the commerce that sells the food, and another is consumption and industrial processing. Consumption related with the people because people sometimes buy a food that don't have the viability or don't have the same life that we can understand life of the product related with the maturations of when the waste is ready for a correct disposal. Yeah.
Mhm.
And yeah, all people, all the actors is related with the waste. So with the solutions that we proposed, we want to attack one per one of the people of the sector of people that is affecting the waste in Colombia.
No, thank you. That's very helpful. And then considering the introduction of IoT technology to manage and predict food production and the consumption patterns, are there any ethical considerations that we as the Corabastos board members need to consider to ensure that data privacy and security are maintained for all these parties that are involved?
Yeah, as Corabastos has a mixed participation of public chairs and private chairs. The public chairs of the Ministry of Agriculture, that is called in Colombia, Minister of Agriculture, it has the regulation for the protect the personal data and to respect the reserve of the commerce of the farmers. Yeah. So with this information, it's only for Corabastos because in this moment, the problem that is more farmers or a lot of farmers crops the same product in the same period, right? For example, in December, a lot of farmers are crop potatoes, right? So the idea of the calendar is to distribute all the production of the potatoes around the year. So the public sector of the public participation has an important presence for respect all data for all the people. So it's aligned with the government laws of regulation.
In your research, was there anything still speaking to the IoT technology and new waste management practices that you're proposing to us? Are there specific Colombian regulations or international standards that we must adhere to?
Yeah, the IoT is across the patterns that in many recently in the Ministry of Agriculture is developing or was developed was developing a process with IoT idea, but it is successful by the Corabastos because they don't have all the data that the farmers. So they could produce or predict the patterns that the people or that the demands of the people of food, but the technology is already to Corabastos. So Corabastos already has the technology that IoT and have the plan to implement this calendar or to propose this calendar to government that benefits all the people. But all the information or Corabastos has a problem with the information because it is not cannot obtain it for a simple way. So the IoT is related with the Ministry of Agriculture and in Colombia is TIC, Ministry for Technology and Intellectual Process.
Also, farmers in Colombia are forgotten population, and all of resources of technology are in the main cities, not in crops and fields. So for this reason, our solution focuses in our fair solution focus in these people.
There's a lot of upside that you presented to us in this proposal, a lot of positives. flip side of the coin, what do you think, what is the biggest impact if we decide not to move forward with this proposal?
Sorry, could you repeat the question, please?
Certainly. In the proposal, there's a lot of advantages, a lot of the positives of why we as the board of directors should consider your proposal. Is there any downside, what would the negative impact be, broadly speaking, if we said we're not going to move forward with this proposal at this time? What do you think is the most compelling impact if we decide?
One of the things could be the wrong implementation of the calendar, because it involves a campaign of teaching to farmers to say them, hey, you cannot produce potatoes in December, yeah, because in another department of Colombia, for example, Antioquia, I don't know if you know about Antioquia, but Antioquia is producing for December potatoes. So after Cundinamarca or Bogota could be produced in January. Yeah. So the most addressing challenge that we are faced is related with a wrong implementation for the calendar, and related with the closed loop biogas and digestate generation system, is that the separation of the organic food is not current, is not okay. People cannot separate the organic food properly for the way that the biodigester, that is the machine that makes that process, requires. Yeah, because in this moment in Corabastos, Corabastos, people in Corabastos don't separate properly all the waste. So the most challenge, or maybe the negative side of the proposal, is that the campaign of pedagogical campaign for farmers, for the calendar, and for the merchandisers, because they are the most responsible people that involved in this process.
And for example, training digital capabilities for farmers are difficult, but we think that we can make a partnership with universities, with, I don't know, programs of engineering, electronic engineer, system engineer. Students can go to the farms, go to the fields, and teach our farmers.
Right.
I have a few questions.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Valentina.
I only want to say that I think in Colombia is difficult to change the mentality, no, like of Colombians, or in this case of farmers. Yes, science technology is not something that they consider important, and they haven't been shown the benefits, no. And I think is that the most important thing, that we have to show them that this benefit of our technology or about the ideas, and change the mentality, but not in one moment. Yes, no, slowly, yes, like sorry.
Okay.
Not only in one
term,
moment,
yes.
but in long term, ¿vale?
Yes, like in long term, not now. Yes,
Over
I
time.
think that's the most important.
Yeah. Well, I know one of our longest serving board members at Corabastos, Jeff, has some questions too. He's been on the board for many, many years, so I know he has some important questions for you too.
Jason can tell because we have the same hair color, but I have less. So, could you speak about it, and maybe go back to the slide about the ethical dilemmas that you identified? And that was really interesting to me. And of these different ethical dilemmas, or sometimes we think like trade-offs, that if we choose this, then it's going to cost us that. That if we emphasize this, then we have to de-emphasize that. So we're balancing these things. Which of these dilemmas do you think are hardest for us? And why should we make the decision that you're proposing in making that trade-off?
The most important dilemma that Corabastos faces, the most important dilemma that faces to Corabastos is the rights of people, because so if you remember, we look at this ethical dilemma from different perspectives or lenses that are in the slide, right? So the wasted food that decompose accelerate climate change and polluting the air. So the most important dilemma, it could be the environmental in one side, and in another side, it's related with the utilitarian perspective. And yeah.
Okay. And help me understand a little bit more about kind of the business of Corabastos. It is a wholesale food market. So it's an intermediary between the farmers and the purchasers, right?
Yeah,
Right.
in Corabastos, to Corabastos arrives all the food produced in Colombia.
Okay.
So these are in these bodegas, in Spanish is bodegas.
Uh-huh.
So there are many commerce or merchandisers that sell all of type of the products, all kind of the products, and fruit and vegetables. So it's cool. It has the function that has an intermediary to farmers and to the final consumer. But the good thing or the positive thing, the differential is the prices, because as in Corabastos arrives all the food, all the mercancy, people could obtain all the food or products for a low prices, right? It is a partner or a social partner for a commerce or for minor commerce in the I forgot the word in English. In the okay, in Spanish is various, but in the no, I don't remember the word. But I hope you understand this
Okay.
the approach of Corabastos.
Okay. And so how do we make money? We don't make money from growing the food. Do we make money
Renting
from
the
selling the food? Do we make money by renting out the spaces in the bodegas where the
yeah.
farmers sell their produce?
No, Corabastos obtain money renting all the spaces for to do the trade-off of the products.
So,
Because in all places there are people that sell and obtain money for their commerce, right?
thank you, Delphine. So when you explain your three solutions, could you please help me understand where in those three solutions Corabastos is implementing an internal business decision, or instead is trying to influence its supply chain so that members of the supply chain can cooperate with Corabastos to implement these solutions?
Corabastos not only um, los o sea, waste food. also waste money.
Mhm.
So for this reason, our solution focuses in all the supply chain, because in each part of the chain, Corabastos lose money. For
How?
example,
How?
for-
Let me just ask, Sara, if a farmer brings food to our wholesale distribution buildings that they rent space from, and the food is wasted, doesn't the farmer lose money, but not Corabastos?
Yeah, but Sarah, the approach that Sarah want to say, that is Corabastos is responsible for ensuring food security for Colombia. So not only lose money about with the waste of food, but only don't if the wastage produces, or if waste produce, Corabastos could not making a good I forgot the word, a good paper, a good
work in
the
the
response,
society.
thank you, the good work to take society. For example, Corabastos lost money or waste their money in one expenses of the largest expenses is in energy, right? Because all the bodegas, all the commerce has an illumination system, an energy system. So in internal point of view, for example, with this system, Corabastos could save some of expense that they waste in energy, right? But the most important thing, or the most important approach that Corabastos want to convey to fight, sorry for the word, but is the process of the work that they have into the society, right? Right.
An extra piece of information to understand a little more the importance of Corabastos. When the Corabastos workers protest, the entire city runs out of food.
Or the farmers,
So
yeah.
yes, it's
No,
very
or
important.
there is a problem with the farmers. Maybe you heard about a paro of a manifestations for the people
A
2 years
protest.
ago, a
Protest.
protest 2 years ago. So in that cases, all the process, or all the supply chains is wrong, because Corabastos receive all the food from farmers, but if Corabastos send all the food to the other departments, right?
So,
To other cities or states in the case of United
So-
States.
so they
Yes,
just,
it's like,
Corabastos
sorry, okay.
Corabastos distributes the food.
Yes.
Yeah, people
Okay.
goes to Corabastos for carry the food.
Thank you.
Yes, but it's like, sorry, like farmers sell their products to people who have their stores in Corabastos, yes? And Corabastos gives a space to these people. So if these people who sell products in Corabastos don't know how to organize their products and take advantage of them, they will lose and end up leaving Corabastos, yes? It's like a cycle, like yes.
Thank you for explaining that. That was very helpful.
Well, at this point, I don't have any more questions as a board member. Did you have any final questions, Jeff? I think
No,
this-
just have some things to share.
Yeah.
Really, yeah.
We'll be sharing our,
I have another point. For example, when a problem arose in the transportation of food supplies, the farmers had to throw away the food in the street.
Hmm.
Yes, it's more to Corabastos.
So that's the importance of Corabastos in the
The
economy.
importance of Corabastos, yes. Thank you.
well, thank you for the comprehensive proposal to us as the board of directors. We'll be sharing it with our other board members, and thank you so much as consultants for presenting this to us and for your time.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
I do have some observations, if I may. Just a
And
minute, please.
now we take our characters off. Now we're just conversing with you as students and us as judges. So deep breath, you get to relax, and now we'll provide a little bit of feedback to you.
Okay.
Do you want to go first, Jason? You want me to?
Yeah, I'm happy. Yeah, happy. I had a few notes. I liked the research and the data points. I think are really the strength of your presentation. And I would suggest finding ways that maybe there's some that are bulleted, that the most important ones, because it's really rich in data, and that's what builds your argument and what helps you anchor it in that persuasive tone that you were able to share with us. So I really appreciated all the research. I could tell that you spent a lot of time making sure that the facts were correct, you understood the business, you understood the implications, but really building the data points will help you build that story. So I think having that at the start and a reminder at the end of what's important, and you'll learn that more as students, as these are great examples of time that you get to spend potentially in front of board members and decision makers. So when you hook with the story in the beginning of why it's important, and anchoring perhaps with one of the most important data points that will catch their attention and catch them and go, oh, I didn't know that. Those will be important as you move and you develop as students. I had one small note on IoT. I know just as a business professional, but certain acronyms are helpful in presentations. I would just note a parenthetical of Internet of Things, so that no matter whatever audience you're presenting to, they know what terminology you're using within the presentation. And last, as you mentioned in our dialogue and our questions when we were in character about the power of manifestation of the people, that sounds like a compelling document regionally that would help somewhere in your presentation, where it would be helpful to know, like, in our region, this is something that is utilized or leveraged for farmers or whomever the stakeholders are. I think that would be helpful too. But overall, I learned a lot from you, and well done, team.
Yes. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jason. Let me start, si me permiten, hablo español y es bien difícil hacer lo que hicieron ustedes, ¿no? De comunicar en otro idioma, de olvidar palabras, de no poder recordar las palabras ni en español ni en inglés, ¿verdad? Es bien difícil. So, primeramente quiero felicitarles por una buena presentación. That's all I'm going to say in Spanish, okay? But I just want to tell you what I share, Jason, is I speak Spanish. It's really hard to give a presentation in another language like that. And what happens is sometimes when you can't remember the word in English, like when I speak Spanish, I can't remember the word in Spanish. Then I can't remember the word in English either. And then I get kind of lost. And so you guys did so well. I first want to compliment you. The second thing is that you really are touching on a very important issue, which is efficiency in agricultural supply chain. And the depth of the research that you did and the way in which you proposed 3 levels of solutions was very creative. So I want to say you did a really good job with that as well. And you were very clear in explaining each of those steps. From an ethical standpoint, I really liked how you framed those challenges as dilemmas, because sometimes people think that business people, they're just after the money. But my experience has been, and I'm a former executive in a number of industries, my experience has been that for the most part, business people are trying to do the right thing, but it's always a decision between this and that. It's always a dilemma. It's a trade-off. If I do this, I can't do that. If I help this group of people, then I can't help that other group of people. It's how do you work through the complexity of all of those trade-offs? And you identified that framework right at the beginning, and I thought that was really strong. You could hear in some of my questions that I was trying to figure out what the business of Corabastos is in a complex supply chain. And so, and we didn't spend a lot of time discussing it, but if we went further, I would have wanted to understand, where does Corabastos make money? How much will your solutions cost them? And for other places in the supply chain, how will the adaptation of the technologies, the data capture with the farmers, where's that money coming from? And kind of trying to figure out the economics of the different parts of the supply chain. So if you were to develop this further, or present this like as a business plan in another class or something like that, those would be areas that I would think you would want to continue to expand. You have this critical company that's so important for food distribution in Colombia, but it doesn't own all of its parts. And so kind of what are the economics of all of that would be something that would be really helpful. The last thing I want to share is that I want to affirm how important this topic is. Last year at IBESCC, we had a keynote presentation from a woman named Marta Montoya, and she is a Colombiana, and she is I believe, a graduate of the Javeriana, I think. And she is an American businesswoman now who has created a company called Ag Tools. And it is basically a data AI company that maximizes efficiency in supply chain, agricultural supply chain. And I'm going to put in the chat before we log off a link to the presentation that she gave last year. You may be interested in listening to her presentation and learning about her company. She had two, thank you, Jason. And here's the link to the talk that she gave at Loyola Marymount last year. She had two passions. The first is the inefficiency in the distribution. So you guys focused on really the inefficiency in the production and the first step of distribution, but she was looking at the distribution throughout the entire supply chain to the customers and the end users. And essentially, a lot of waste comes because people don't know when and how to buy what from where. Delphine, you gave the example of potatoes being grown in one region by government permit, but not in another. Well, if a buyer doesn't know that, they can misbuy and drive up cost and bring more inefficiency. So she's created a very robust database that can match that kind of market intelligence to the efficiency of procurement, the buying, okay? But the second part that I wanted to share with you is that in her entire talk, she was passionate for the rights of the farmers. And she told stories, which you'll listen to her, of being in the farms and being with the farmers. And a whole perspective of her business is how to reduce inefficiency in agricultural supply chain in order to maximize the profit, the sales and the profit that the farmers can have. And she really saw that as an important dimension of justice for the farmers, who are so critical for the supply chain, but who sometimes are hurt by the way in which the supply chain currently works. So what she shared will really correspond and affirm with what your project research has shown. So again, it's in chat. I'd really encourage you to take a look at it. You'd be impressed and proud of someone from the Javeriana. So
Yeah, that's a great example, Jeff. And I think it's what we see a lot of in these case competitions, is that while there is certainly that the financial and business side that has to be there too, it isn't just about profitability, it's about business for good. And I think this is a great example of still that care and interest in how the farmers will benefit is really part of the story and the narrative that you presented to us tonight as well.
So good job, you guys. One final thing, estamos completamente arrepentidos por los problemas con el horario. ¿Eh? Nuestra culpa y ustedes respondieron magníficamente y
No,
muchísimas
don't-
gracias.
Don't worry for
No.
that, and thank you
Thank
for
you.
your attention and for the time to our team.
Yeah, we
Yes,
messed up
thank
on the
you.
schedule. I just apologize.
No
And-
problem.
No.
And as one final thought, as it's not just the Internet of Things, but it kind of is in a way, is that in our new normal, in our present day, you'll probably find you have more and more online presentations. There's a lot of in-person that doesn't necessarily take place. I appreciated watching your adaptability and flexibility as a team of knowing, and that's what happens when you really are working as a high-functioning team where there's a little bit of a tech hiccup. With Valentina, don't worry about it. You know, Delphin jumps in and says, you
Thank
know
you.
the content. And it's so you all knew the content as a whole instead of, oh, I only know my part. This is all I can speak to. So that really came off as you were very well rehearsed and well prepared for our presentation.
Do you have any questions from us?
Not only my family are farmers and work with quinoa in Colombia
Mhm.
on lettuce. For this reason, for us, it's very important help us. And we try to understand the problematic because it's very injustice. And it's sad for all of our families. So the I don't know, lettuce, and they need to lose money, time, and all of food. And for this reason, we choose this topic.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. And listen to Martha Montoya and Ag Tools. You will hear her perspective affirming yours quite a bit.
And thank you for your advices and your commitments. So that are a great comments for us. And sure, we will see the video of the business of the AG Tech Tools. Thanks
Wonderful.
for share with us that information.
Yes,
course.
thank you so much. It's so important. Thank you.
Thank you. Great
All right.
job, everyone.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you
Bye-bye.
again. We'll sign off from here.
Thank you.
thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Good luck,
Thank you.
good luck everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you for your
Bye-bye.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.